It's the Chronicles of a Gooner, and we're live.
You're listening to the Chronicles of a Gooner, the Arsenal podcast.
I'm Martin Tyler, and you're listening to Harry Symeou.
Hello and welcome back to another live edition of the Chronicles of a Gooner, the Arsenal podcast, brought to you by 90 Min. As ever, I'm your host, Harry Symeou, and on this edition, we're going to be discussing the news that Arsenal's UEFA Europa League tie with Benfica has been switched to Rome. Arsenal will take on Benfica in Rome due to the travel restrictions in place between, of course, the UK and Portugal. So, we're going to be digging our teeth into that, what that means, whether it's fair, whether it's unfair, whether UEFA actually had any choice. We'll be discussing all of that. And we're also going to be discussing the fact that the home leg for Arsenal is also likely to be switched now off the back of that decision having been made. In the interest of fairness, we think, and as is reported by Mark Bryans of the Press Association, the second leg is likely to be moved as well to a neutral venue. So lots to get our teeth into. We're going to be touching on that. We're going to be talking a little bit about Kieran Tierney and his fitness. We'll be discussing perhaps a little bit more about the Saliba thing if you've got any thoughts and didn't catch the stream earlier on. Lots to come on this show. A big hello to Manny, to Retzel, to Franklin, who are all in the chat now. Thank you for your very kind words. Big hello to Manny and Retzel, who says, great content, great channel. Thank you so much. Manny says, I finally got a notification. I'm glad to hear it. I don't know why the notifications are so temperamental, but I've noticed that is a YouTube-wide thing. It's not just here, because I see it with channels that I'm subscribed to. When other people go live, I don't always get the notification as well. Sometimes it takes me logging on to YouTube to see that video is live to actually finding it, which I know is a little bit annoying. A big hello to everybody else who is listening to this back later on or is subscribed via the audio platforms. Hope you're all doing well. Right, without further ado, let's get into the news. So, Arsenal's Europa League last 32 first leg against Benfica has been moved from Lisbon to Rome due to the coronavirus travel restrictions. So that game is going to take place on the 18th of February, but it's one of a number of games at the moment in European football that is being moved. It's being changed to another venue to try and get around the travel restrictions in place with certain countries. And I guess, the travel restrictions are there for the safety of people. So I haven't really got an issue with it. It needs to be done. And it is what it is. We said at the beginning of this season, when this season started, I think we all had to accept that it was never going to be like a normal season. There were going to be interruptions, there were going to be virus, there were also going to be games whereby the circumstances around them wouldn't be ideal just because of the way of the world right now and the fact that we need to make sure that these games are being played in safe environments. Earlier this month, of course, it was confirmed that Liverpool's Champions League round of 16 tie against RB Leipzig will take place at the Puskás Arena in Budapest as opposed to Germany. And now, of course, Manchester City's game against Borussia Mönchengladbach is also being moved to that venue as well. Now, according to the initial report from PA Sport, Arsenal's game has been switched. Portugal is on a red list of countries to which travel is currently restricted. And although elite sports teams were granted exemptions from these rules in the past, they've been denied this by most governments for the latest round of cross-border fixtures. So the government's really having to knuckle down and make the measures a lot more stringent, a lot tougher because of the growing worry around the coronavirus. We thought it'd all be done and dusted and gone by now, but that's really not been the case. What else have we got here? The new venue is expected to be in Rome and will likely, it's not 100% confirmed, but will likely be the Stadio Olimpico. Further venue changes are expected in the near future as well, with journalist Mark Bryans reporting that Arsenal's home leg will be played at a neutral stadium as well. So we're going to have to wait and see on that one, because we don't 100% know. We don't 100% know. We don't 100% know, whether that's going to happen, where it will be switched to. We don't know that the Olimpico is 100% going to be the venue either. But in Rome, it makes the most sense, doesn't it? Big stadium, big old stadium, big historic stadium. And I guess, you're looking at it now when we're talking about the home ties, the away ties. Does it make that much of a difference without having fans in the stadium? Arguably not. So I'm not majorly upset about it. In fact, I'm not upset about it at all. It's something that has obviously had to be done for health and safety reasons. It's to get around the protocols in place, but also ensure that the tournament continues and finishes, etc., etc. So yeah, that's what it is. That's what's going to happen. Arsenal are going to play the first leg in Rome, and we believe the second leg is going to be switched to a neutral venue as well. Let me know your thoughts. Are you particularly fussed by it? Do you think it will make a difference regarding the outcome of the tie? Remember, there weren't going to be fans in either stadium anyway. For me, it would be ideal if we saw, like Brad says in the comments, if we saw it concluded the way it was last season, where all ties will be played in the same country. In the latter stages, of course, we saw the Champions League, didn't we? At the back end of last season, concluded all in Portugal. We saw the Europa League concluded in Germany. The difference here is that, of course, that was at the end of the season. The domestic seasons had finished. So teams were able to go to a country and basically stay there, in between different rounds of the tournament, because the tournament was being played at the end of the season. Whereas now, in the middle of a domestic season, it would be difficult, because it would mean the team going there, coming back, going there, coming back. So if you're going to go there and come back anyway, then you might as well, then playing it in two different countries isn't really an issue. The only thing I would say is I understand why there are some people out there who think that is more sensible, given that we're trying to restrict travel as much as we can. If you've got Arsenal going to Rome, and then you've got Arsenal going to, I don't know, for argument's sake, Germany or Hungary to play their second leg, then it's a bit like, well, you're still sending Arsenal to two different countries. So what? And you're sending Benfica as well. So why not just play them in their home stadiums? I get that as well. But what we've seen throughout this crisis is that football has had to adhere to government rules, to government restrictions, and all along they've had to constantly prove that they can, that they can manage the sport in a way that is safe, in a way that is not going to put people at greater risk. And to be fair, for the most part, we had a little bit of a surge around cases of the virus around Christmas, when people were breaking off, going with their families. But right now, those levels of infection have come down dramatically again, and it feels like we're in a place with football where actually it is relatively safe, or is safe enough, and we can move forward and we can continue playing. So yeah, look, it's one of those things. UEFA, the governments of the respective countries, they need to jump through hoops to make sure that football is not stopped. And we've seen, as we saw it last year, UEFA will do their utmost, their absolute utmost, to make sure that their tournaments go ahead. We expect the European Championships to go ahead as well without any sort of real hiccups. So that's just where we're at. Arsenal are going to go to Rome to play Benfica in the first leg. And according to PA Sport, which makes sense, to be fair, the second leg is going to be switched to a neutral venue also. Cool. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat about the whole thing. So Manny says, I just have a feeling we might step up in the Europa, maybe not win it, but we could go deep. Chris says this is intriguing. Clement on the game says we will lose home and away. Not very confident, obviously. Russ says they should just make all of them one-legged ties. Yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if you saw that changed later on in the competition. So at the round of, in this current round, I don't think you'll see it change now. I think they've hung their hat on the two-legged ties. But I wouldn't be surprised if in the rounds going forward, you saw that switch made. It becomes a lot easier, doesn't it? When you're talking about the logistics of things. The only issue is as well, though, that you've got to remember is that by limiting the ties to one leg, is that benefiting Arsenal? Because we know that Arsenal can have off days, and by limiting the ties or condensing them down to one leg, that opportunity to correct the wrong in the first leg is no longer there. So I'm not sure from a totally footballing perspective that I want to see the ties turned into one-off knockout matches. I think from a football perspective, I would prefer that they keep them to two legs, but I also understand logistically that might not be easy to do. It might not make sense either, really, when you think about the number of games teams are having to play right now in a short space of time. Actually, it doesn't make sense. One-legged tie, I think to some managers will be appealing, but just my personal perspective, I think is when you make a tournament like that, when you play one-legged ties, you can't afford to have off days. And when we've seen Arsenal have many off days this season, I worry about that. I really do. What else have you guys got to say? Big hello to SP, who says Arsenal fan from India. Just wanted to say love the content and keep up the awesome work. Thank you very much, mate. And thank you for joining us. Xander says maybe both legs should be played at one stadium in a 3 to 4 days before the teams return to their respective country. Yeah, that's another good option. Brad, one of our members as well, also asked about the idea of making them one-leg ties. That's my kind of view on it. The view I just shared with you, it makes sense from a logistic point of view. It makes sense from the fact that we're playing a lot of games in small periods of time at the moment, and that's a problem. But I don't know necessarily if I want that to be the case when it comes to Arsenal and their chances of going on and winning the Europa League. I want to say a massive thank you to AFC High for your kind super chat donation. He says, Harry, what will happen to Saliba with his situation? Will this affect his chances at Arsenal due to sponsors, etc., etc.? Really interesting question, this one. Spoke at length about the Saliba situation in the last podcast, and I said that I felt that this whole situation could be a real problem for William Saliba now. And without kind of repeating exactly what I said on the last stream, which you can check out, it's available now on the channel. It's available on all major podcast stores as well. What I want to say is, I worry that the combination of this video and the recent interviews that he's been given, in which he's been very vocal about the fact that he's not been happy with the way he's been treated. He's not been happy with Mikel Arteta kind of making a very quick judgment and assessment on him, leaving him obviously out the squad for the first half of the season and then moving him on loan. He's made no secret of that. He's not a happy bunny, William Saliba. He's not impressed. The problem is, though, has too much happened between Saliba and Arteta for that relationship ever to go back to what it should be or to start fresh. I don't know. You've also got to remember that the club will obviously frown upon what William Saliba's video shows. And, we know that Mikel Arteta historically is not a manager who takes well to players going out in public and airing the club's dirty laundry. And he won't be impressed by what he's seen from Saliba in the media lately. And that, in my opinion, was damaging his chances of coming back as it was. But for this video now to emerge, and there are some conspiracy theorists who seem to think that perhaps the video was leaked on purpose to do damage to Saliba, to kind of push him back into a corner, to kind of sit him back down and say, hold on a minute, what are you doing here? Know your place kind of thing. And I don't know that that's the case. And I'm just kind of going along with some of the speculation I've been reading. I'm not convinced that is the issue or that is what's gone on. But it just feels like with each passing week right now, William Saliba is digging himself a hole that I don't think he's going to be able to get out of. It's all good going on loan and playing at Nice and doing well, which he is. And fair play to him on the pitch. He's doing the business. But, people have come to me today and said that they feel like he's maybe trying to engineer a move away from Arsenal Football Club, that he's that fed up, he's that disappointed and almost disgusted by the treatment of him since he joined after that initial loan spell at Saint Etienne. But the reality is, if you're a big football club, a big enterprise whose image is obviously very important to them, and you've got a player who has shown that he's willing to throw the manager under the bus when things aren't going his way, has shown that he's doesn't really have the he doesn't really have the I don't know. Look, he doesn't really have the kind of media training. Some will say he's doing it on purpose. I put it down to him just being a little bit naive, if I'm honest. So there's that, and also now, the image of the club being brought into kind of disrepute because of a video, even if it was taken, before he joined Arsenal. He's an Arsenal player now. He's associated with a football club, and I don't think they'll take kindly to that. I mean, we saw. We saw Mesut Ozil essentially moved out of the club because he was outspoken, because he politically, decided that he wanted to make various statements that that the club moved very quickly to distance themselves from. Whether they were wrong or right, is not really the thing here. The point is that Arsenal distanced themselves very, very quickly from Mesut Ozil's political views because they were controversial, where this video is certainly controversial. And I don't really know where this goes now for William Saliba, and he's going to become the subject of much abuse now. We've already seen it on social media. There's been homophobic abuse. There's been all kinds of other jokes and things, or they're supposed to be jokes, but you know what I'm trying to say, doing the rounds about him at the minute. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if this is this latest thing could be fatal in terms of his Arsenal future. And I'm not just jumping the gun here, and I said it on the previous stream. This for me is not just about this video, so please don't take it that way. This is not me saying that one video that was recorded years ago, which actually doesn't show William Saliba doing anything wrong. It shows a colleague, a teammate, whatever, alongside him getting up to something he shouldn't be. I'm not saying that in itself is fatal. However, what I am saying is the combination of that, plus the interviews he's been given, where he's been, really digging out Mikel Arteta, and kind of making it clear that he's unhappy with the way things are going at Arsenal. That for me does not bode well. And I feel like his Arsenal career could be on the ropes. And for those of you that haven't seen William Saliba's comments about Mikel Arteta and the situation he found himself in at Arsenal, I'm just going to read some of them to you now, because he's basically said that he's basically made it clear that he wasn't impressed with the way he was treated. And this is what he had to say. He said, it is clear that so much has changed in the last year. Now, of course, Saliba was talking to RMC Sports Top of the Foot show. He said, when I saw that the coach changed a lot, changed for me too. Sorry, when I saw that the coach changed, a lot changed for me too. He's talking about, obviously, Unai Emery being moved out. He said, in this year, there has been a lot of change in my personal life as well. He, Mikel Arteta, judged me on 2.5 matches. I would have liked for him to play me more, but he told me I wasn't ready. I was waiting for him to give me a chance, but football is like that. When I initially came to Arsenal, the league looked very good, so I showed up to training and wanted to train on my own to show the coach I was ready. I am happy now. I want to play for Nice. The idea when you're part of a team is a better feeling for me. And then, he was talking about it in other publications as well. He spoke about it to L'Equipe as well, where he said there was a lot of factors, I think, because when they were finishing their league season, I was in quarantine at home where I could only run 1 kilometer in my house. And then there was this thing about the Coupe de France final. We didn't know if I was going to be able to play or not. What I mean is, as soon as my contract finished with Saint Etienne, I wasn't able to train until an agreement was found. That was for 2 weeks. I wasn't training and the others had already started training again. After that, then I went over there at the end of July. They had one more week, so I was training all alone. They came back from holidays 2 weeks later, and I was still training by myself. When they came back, I played in 2 friendlies, but I wasn't ready. I hadn't played for 6 months. I had no preparation, and to pick up rhythm, you need to play matches. The coach told me I wasn't ready. I thought that's normal. These were just 2 matches, and I hadn't played for 6 months. After that, I waited for my chance. I waited for him to play me more to get a rhythm, but that's football. It's like that. It's behind me, and I took the experience. So this is what I mean. This is not one interview. This is not 2 interviews. William Saliba has been constantly beating that drum about the fact that he's unhappy with the way Arsenal have treated him. So I don't think that Arsenal and Mikel Arteta will take kindly to that kind of talk in public. That's my opinion. And that, combined with that video, I think it puts him in big trouble. Look, if he bounces back from it, fair play to him. But I do worry that this could be a serious problem. Let's go back to your live comments and see what you guys are saying. Omar says, Harry, do you see fans returning next season? Omar, I hope so. I hope so. Here in the UK, the vaccine is being rolled out pretty quickly. I don't think everybody will have had it by the time the next season starts, but I think the majority, at least, of those who are medically more vulnerable will have. So I hope to see fans back. I'm pretty sure that we won't see full capacities back initially. I think it will be a phased return, but I'd like to see fans back in some capacity. I think mentally we just need it, man. I think it's affecting the football as well. I think the level of the football has dropped off the back of there being no fans. I think it makes games worse to watch on TV, even as a spectacle where there's no fans. So yeah, I hope so. I'm hopeful that with the kind of efficiency of which they're rolling out the vaccine here in the UK, that it will happen sooner rather than later. And I've not been the biggest fan of the way COVID has been handled in this country, but in terms of the vaccine, it is being done very well. Credit where credit's due. Big hello to Saeed Abdullah. Big hello to Shubham, who says Saliba was the mole, Harry. I'm not sure about that. Some people. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Yep, I think I'm back. Sir Brian says, Harry, nice show. Always, as always, mate. Brilliant. Thank you so much, man. Really, really appreciate your kind words. Let's check in where we are on the likes right now. Have we got as many likes as we need? We've got 28 likes at the moment, but we can easily get that up to 50, surely. Hit the like button if you haven't already. It is very much appreciated. Big hello to Patrick as well, who says, how you doing? I'm all good, mate. Thank you so much. Chris Pantelli, just touching on the Saliba thing, says, I'm not too bothered by this, Harry. At the end of the day, it's about what happens on the pitch. If the Arsenal who beat United and Chelsea turn up, we have a chance. If not, we are out. So he's talking about the Europa League there as well in that same comment. What else have we got here? Xander asks, do we prioritise personnel for the Europa with all the injuries and niggles we continually have in the Premier League? If you had asked me this 2 weeks ago, I would have said at this point, you can't make that decision. I would have said that at this point, you still need to go for broke in both. I was okay with Mikel Arteta. I'm not going to say throwing away the FA Cup, because I still think he picked a team that he probably felt was good enough to win it, was good enough to compete with Southampton on the day. It just wasn't to be. But after losing to Wolves, after losing to Aston Villa, 2 games in which I wanted 4 points. I said that I wanted 7 from Wolves, Villa, and Leeds. I said that 7 was the minimum that we could afford to pick up, while still giving ourselves an outside chance of finishing in the Champions League, which is ultimately, right, Arsenal's goal for the season. Arsenal's aim this season is to get back in the Champions League. Now, we may not achieve that aim, and that aim may be adjusted later on in the season. We may look at it and say, right now, we just need to get into Europe, full stop, for the finances that brings. But now, having lost at Wolves, having lost at Villa, top 4 is going to be very difficult for me. And of course, that means that the only viable route back into the back into the Champions League would be via the Europa League. So he's got to prioritize it, but at the same time, 10th place in the league is not acceptable. So Mikel Arteta needs to fix that as well. And I'm not sure what the right balance is. I accept what you're saying, though. The Europa League, when it comes to players like Kieran Tierney, Thomas Partey, for example, who we keep seeing break down time after time after time with those players, I think it's about Mikel making a bit of a decision now. Yeah, I do. Rahul, who talks about Partey, who I've just mentioned, he says, I'm really surprised and gloomy about how Partey is getting injured constantly. Yeah, look, it is a worry, isn't it? It is a concern because when you look at his record prior to joining Arsenal in terms of his fitness, it was very, very good. It was very, very solid. And all of a sudden, it feels like I don't know, is it the increased intensity in the Premier League? Is that what he's struggling to adapt with? Did he never really get back to full fitness in the first place from the initial injury? And I know the problems are not all directly related, but of course, if you're not 100% fit, you're more likely, aren't you, to pick up injuries of some form. So is that what it is? I don't know. A lot of it is down to rotten luck for me. As I said, Arsenal would have done their due diligence on Thomas Partey, and if you looked at his medical record prior to coming to Arsenal, it was really, really good, and it was certainly nothing to be concerned about. It's just not been the case here, though. So I do worry about it as well, because we've seen what a difference Arsenal as a team are with him and without him. And you look at the other options. You look at Dani Ceballos, who's not really getting a look in at the moment. Looks like he's destined to return back to Real Madrid at the end of the season, and I don't think there'll be any permanent transfer on the cards there. And you look at Mohamed El-Neni and you just think the difference is massive, and he is so important, and fingers crossed he can put these injuries behind him. But you're not the only one, Raul, who's a little bit worried about it, I've got to be honest. Saeed Abdullah, just touching on the Saliba thing, says this is why you can't judge Arteta now, because he's had to deal with a lot of issues. Yeah, and I said that on the last stream as well, mate. It's a much bigger. The things have been bigger. There's been bigger problems, I should say, behind the scenes that maybe as fans we didn't all know about. I know the thing froze a little bit earlier on. Just give me a thumbs up in the chat if it's all good now. Apologies for that. I'm sitting on my couch today instead of in the studio room, so I don't have the wired connection. But seeing as I'm sitting bloody opposite the router, I thought it'd be fine, but obviously not. It's me being lazy, so my apologies. Right, let's see what else you guys are saying. Andrew says, my gosh, smash the like button, you people. Yes, please do. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Omar says, Harry, do you think Partey's diet has anything to do with his recent injuries? He's come out recently and confessed his love for Indomie noodles, which I was baffled by. I saw that. I saw a little clip of that on social media. That I wouldn't really read into that, mate, if I'm honest. What else have we got? Bad Boy says, how big is his house? Whose house? Are you talking about mine? If you're talking about mine, it's not very big at all, I can assure you. Wish it was, but it isn't. Alfie Keane says, what's wrong with them comments? Talking about Saliba's comments. What's wrong with them is that they're just unnecessary. Like, who do they benefit? The only person that he needs to be telling that he's disappointed in the way he's been treated is Mikel Arteta and Edu. They're the only people that need to know that. He could have easily just said, look, I thought I'd get more chances, or I hoped I'd get more chances, but obviously it wasn't to be. And now I am fully focused on proving to people that I deserve a chance, proving to people that I am ready. And this is my chance at Nice to do that. I feel part of the team here at Nice. I'm delighted to be here. And now my focus is on proving myself again, and then we can see what the future holds from there. That's what he should have said. There's no need to go, oh, he judged me on 2.5 games. He kept coming and telling me I wasn't ready. Like, talking about, oh, I came back from training and I was training by myself. And there's no need for all of that. It's just what he's doing is he's trying to defend himself. But in defending himself, it can be seen as him attacking his manager. And that won't bode well with Mikel Arteta, I can tell you that. Maxwell, just going back to the initial news, will the Europa League game be a one-off? No, not to my knowledge. What's being reported at the moment is that the first leg will take place in Rome and a second venue will be selected for the home tie. Mans Anderson points out that the French Federation has opened an investigation into Saliba. It's looking bad for him. Yeah, because of course in that video, it looks as though, and I'm just going to double check this. Where is it? Hold on. It looks very much, doesn't it? If I'm not mistaken, that video is of Saliba on international duty. Let's just quickly double check that. I'm not going to watch the bloody whole thing. I just want to see what he's wearing. Yeah, he's wearing a French top. So yeah, and so are the rest of the players. So it's obviously whatever that is that's occurred. It took place on international duty at some level, and the French Federation will not take kindly to that. And this is my point. Look, if the French Football Federation want to look at that and want to investigate it, then why would Arsenal just go, oh, yeah, this is perfectly fine? Whether they say anything publicly about it is one thing. They probably won't. I expect Arsenal to just gloss over it. I think Mikel Arteta, when he next faces the press, I think you can all expect them to say, we will deal with this internally, and that will be that. But the fact that the French Football Federation have opened an investigation proves that something like this can show you in a bad light. And whether Arsenal publicly condemn the actions or condemn the video or not, they will still internally be unhappy about it. Syed asks, do I think we should sign a new striker this summer? Thoughts on Edouard from Celtic? I think that beyond Alexander Lacazette, our centre-forward options are limited. I also think that Lacazette is, he's good sometimes. He's good a lot of the time. But I still think there are upgrades out there on him. There were players who will get more goals than him, I feel, and maybe be a little bit more consistent in their performances. That's not to take anything away from Lacazette's performances lately, because I think he's done quite well. But I do think that we need to look to the future in the centre-forward position, particularly given that Lacazette's contract will have just one more season to run after this one. So, what do we do? Do we keep him? Do we let it run down, which has obviously bitten us in the arse on many times in the past? Do we do that, or do we look to perhaps move him on this summer and start planning ahead? I wouldn't trust Eddie Nketiah to be our leading centre forward. I think Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang in this system hasn't always played the role as well as he should have, and that is the focus actually of our members' content this week. So we've got a video dropping tomorrow for our gold members and above, looking at Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang's season, looking at the facts, looking at the stats, and the reasons why maybe it hasn't quite gone as well for him as he would have liked. He has been unable to replicate the form he showed in previous seasons. So I'm very much looking forward to sharing that with you guys tomorrow. So every Wednesday, our members-only content will be dropping right here on the Chronicles of a Gooner. If you want to become a member and receive access to that, as well as a number of other perks, which include access to our Discord server, whereby we're building a nice little community and we have good, civilized, constructive debate about the Arsenal around the clock, then click the link in the description, check out the tiers of membership available, select which, if any of those appeal to you, and come over and join us right here. So yeah, we going back to that question from Syed, we've established that I would look at a striker. Odsonne Edouard is a player I liked a lot last season. And admittedly, I don't watch a lot of SPL, but what I have seen this season, I haven't been as impressed. I still think he's got something to offer. And I think given Celtic's financial situation, you could probably get him for a very reasonable fee as well. So he's someone to consider for sure. What I like about Edouard is he's got the ability to run in behind people. He's got the ability to play off the shoulder, but he also has that extra physicality that maybe Alexander Lacazette doesn't. And in games where we are forced to play wide and we're forced to put balls in the box, I think he'd give us a lot more threat in that way as well. So yeah, he's certainly an option. Certainly an option. What else have we got here? Let's see what you guys are saying. Yep, lots of thumbs up, so everything's good. Again, with the stream, big hello to Wadha, who joins us from Kuwait. Afsar Gunner calling Willian a Chelsea spy and says he hopes that the clown doesn't travel to Rome. It's a little bit harsh, but anyway. What else have we got? Manny highlights the fact that there are so many people with agendas in our fan base is a shame. Let's just get behind the team, regardless of the manager. I agree. What else have we got here? Brad Richardson says, with the players currently out on loan, who would you like back in the team, if any? This is a really good question, actually. Have the players out on loan? Obviously, Joe Willock's gone out on loan recently. He had a pretty decent debut for Newcastle the other day. But I'm still not convinced that Joe Willock is someone I want to see in the Arsenal team week in, week out. I don't want Sead Kolasinac to come back. Full due respect to him. His contract ends at the end of the season anyway, so unless we re-sign him, that ain't going to happen. I quite liked Lucas Torreira when he first come, but I just think that a combination of things, his performances and the fact that he's struggled to settle in London, I think have hindered him. And in hindsight, we paid a fair amount of money for him. I'd be looking to cash in on Lucas Torreira if we can get a decent fee for him. Matteo Guendouzi, I believe, has got the attributes. I really do believe this kid has got the attributes to go on and be a real imposing physical powerhouse of a midfielder, but he needs to sort it out up here. He needs to sort his attitude out if he's going to achieve the heights that we think he's capable of. If I was going to take a gamble on bringing one of them back, if I could only bring one back, he would be the one, because I feel like he's the one that's got the highest ceiling in terms of what he could become. So yeah, I'd probably pick Guendouzi there. What else have we got in terms of your question? Martin the Gooner says, Harry, do you think the club will back Arteta in the transfer market this summer if we don't get any European football, which is a possibility? I do think, Martin, that Arsenal's qualification or failure to qualify for Europe will have a massive impact on what we do financially in the summer. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I do have a bit of a gut feeling, though, that the Chronicles will make some funds available. Look, I don't expect Arsenal to go out and spend 200 million on 4 players, but I think Arsenal are fully invested in Mikel Arteta. I really do. And I feel like the Thomas Partey proved that even further, that actually Arsenal do believe in Mikel Arteta and what he can do. And I think they will, if they continue to see the culture heading in the right direction at the club and the signs of progress are there. And as I said yesterday, those signs are not always crystal clear. And that's why it's been difficult, really, isn't it, to really justify or judge whether or not Mikel has taken us forward. I think if you look beyond the surface, and the surface being our league position and the fact that we've lost 10 games already this season, I think if you look just below that, you can see signs. You can see an improved defense. You can see an improved culture. You can see the emergence of a style of play. You can see the emergence of some young players. So I do think if you look just under the surface, there has been progress. And I think for that reason, I think Arsenal will back Mikel Arteta, but it's difficult to define what backing him is. I think they will do what they can within their means, but I think we've got to accept that the loss of revenue suffered this season and in the second half of last season is massive, not just for Arsenal, on a number of football clubs, and that could be a real problem. AFC High says, Harry, who do you think will go in the summer? It's a tough one. At the moment, I'm feeling as though following Balogun is going to go, because there's no news of him signing a contract yet. Perhaps Lacazette will go if the right offer was on the table. I don't know. But I think many of the players that I expected to go in the summer, that were due to go in the summer because of their contracts expiring and whatnot, have been moved on in January. So I feel like the summer's going to be one more of incomings than outgoings, if I'm honest. But thank you again for your very kind super chat donation. Really appreciate it. Franklin says, Harry, do you think Giroud would have done better in this current Arsenal setup, considering that he has a better hold up and link up play? Thoughts? Yeah, I love Olivier Giroud. I liked him when he was at Arsenal, and fans were getting on his back and saying he was crap and he was crap. And again, it's a bit like when you're measuring the progress of Arsenal under Mikel Arteta. In order to understand Giroud's value, sometimes you have to look just below the surface being the number of goals he scores. Sometimes you have to look beyond that and say that the link-up play, the fact that he was able to occupy centre-halves, bring Alexis Sanchez in from the left, bring Ozil in from a slightly deeper position. I thought Giroud was imperative to those two playing well, being a wall, somebody that you could bounce the ball off and move. And I thought that he was really key in that sense. Obviously had his limitations, not blessed with a great deal of pace, carries pretty much no threat on the counter-attack, etc., etc. But I think at times this season we've been crying out for that physical presence in the middle. And although Lacazette is playing better now, he hasn't been playing that way all season. And that is why somebody like Giroud, a slightly different option that still brings to the table what Mikel Arteta is looking for from a centre forward, would have been a good good option to have. Big hello to Andrew, who says, truly appreciate you and your work, Harry. So grateful for a grounded podcast about Arsenal that doesn't have all the ranting. Thank you so much, Andrew. Really appreciate it, mate. And thank you for joining us. Carrie Tanninen says, should Arsenal try to get someone really great to be a leader, the new Bergkamp? Obviously, I want Arsenal to sign the best players in the world, but financially right now, is that viable? I've seen, we were having a discussion about it yesterday on the Same Old Arsenal podcast, and check that out. Check out the Same Old Arsenal podcast. Have a listen back to yesterday's show. Some really good debates, some really good points made on either side of the fence. So please do head over there and check it out. But the name of, and the reason I mentioned Same Old Arsenal was because the name of Erling Haaland was mentioned as someone Arsenal should be looking to go for in the summer. And I just look at players like that and I think everybody in Europe will be after that player. He's that good. I think he's brilliant. Will Arsenal be able to compete with everybody in the transfer market? My gut feel is no. But having said that, the pandemic has, in a way, leveled out the playing field a little bit more. It's given football a little bit of a reset financially. Football at the top level, I mean, football below that level has been damaged significantly. But I'm talking about the Premier League clubs. It's kind of put a little bit of perspective into the whole craziness of the transfer market. The fact that we were talking about players going for mad money now, I think that's going to calm down a little bit off the back of what's just happened. I think clubs will be wary of what may happen in the future now and may feel as though they need to be a little bit more responsible in terms of their finances. So I think football is going to go through a bit of a change now, a bit of a reset. And whilst I'd love to bring in someone really great, like you say, Carrie, someone like Erling Haaland to lead our line, I'm not sure that it's possible at the moment. Look, don't get me wrong. I hope I'm wrong. And I hope it happens because he's fantastic. It really is. Maxwell asks, what do you think about Ivan Toney at Brentford? I've seen highlights of Brentford this season, mate, but not much more than that. Decent. Decent player. And I think he can have a career in the Premier League moving forward. I'm not sure that Arsenal's the place for him, but yeah, looks a decent player. Big hello to, is that the real troops? Will the real troops please stand up? Is that actually troops in the chat? If it is, how you doing, mate? Welcome to the channel. If it is actually troops, because I've seen some accounts pop up in here before saying it's troops and it's not. So yeah, if it is troops, how you doing, man? Hope you're all good. Yeah, hope you're all good, man. Probably remember we had a bit of a debate once in the 90 Min studio about Arsenal. I think it was me, you, and was it? I can't remember who the other person was. No offense to them. It completely slipped my mind. But yeah, anyway, if that is you, man, welcome to the channel. Thanks for coming. Thanks for dropping in. Zwei talks about Willock because I mentioned some of the players that I'd like to see coming back. I still don't think that he's necessarily Arsenal level. But Zwei says that he thinks he's what's needed next to Partey. What do you think he should improve on to achieve that? I feel like with Willock, he's a bit of an Aaron Ramsey. He's a bit of a actually no, Aaron Ramsey's a bad example. Scrap that. Take that off the record. He reminds me a little bit of Frank Lampard in the sense of what his main strength is getting into the penalty area late and contributing in that sense. But when you look at some of his other attributes, i.e. his ability to sit in front of a defence, his ability to play make from deep, I think that's a little bit missing. And that's why when people talk to me about Frank Lampard, who was an exceptional player, but they make this comparison between Frank Lampard, Paul Scholes and Steven Gerrard. Frank Lampard is the third best for me as an overall footballer. You could argue he had more impact because obviously he went on to win trophies. He, scored some really important goals and scored more goals than those two players I've mentioned. But what I'm talking about is the overall game. I think Joe Willock lacks some of those other attributes, and as a result, I think his overall game suffers, and that's why he's not trusted by Mikel Arteta. I think Joe Willock in a midfield three works, but if you're talking about him playing as an advanced midfielder, does he have the guile necessarily to create opportunities for other people? I would argue no, but he does have that ability to run into the box, but it just doesn't fit with what we're doing. Is what I was trying to get to. That was the point I was trying to get around to. If you play with a midfield three where one player has the license to bomb on, that's fine. But with Arsenal, it's a double pivot with an attacking midfielder a little bit further forward. And the purpose of playing that double pivot is because it's defensively solid. I don't think Willock gives you that. But also playing him as a number 10, I don't think he has the guile necessarily to start in that position. He's effective in those areas when he runs from deep. So it just doesn't quite fit for me. Another super chat from AFC High. Thank you so much. Balogun has been selected for the Europa League games. Yeah, of course, he was involved earlier in the Europa League as well. Let's pick out a few more questions. I'm going to try and take some from people who I haven't picked up from already. So apologies if I miss some of them out. I'm just trying to pick up from people that I haven't so far so I can get as many different people involved as possible. Lots of you saying hi to troops. Said it might be a fake. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah. What else have we got here? Steve Stone says, how do you rate Arsenal's fan base as a whole? I got to be careful how I answer this one because most of my podcast listenership, well, pretty much 99% of it is all Arsenal fans, so I can't afford to piss everyone off. But look, I think as a fan base, I think we've become a little bit reactionary, and I've been guilty of it as well at times. In the past, I'm not saying that I'm perfect. We're all humans. We're all passionate about our football club, and we all lose our rag from time to time. But I do think, as a general comment, as a general fan base, sometimes we just need to chill the fuck down a little bit and calm down. Because, like, for example, the Wolves defeat. That one, it came with a sense of injustice, disappointment, and people kind of got over it. And then the Villa defeat, where we actually played, in my opinion, not brilliantly, but to an okay level against a side who have taken bigger scalps than Arsenal's this season away from home, We were unlucky with some decisions in that one as well. It just amazed me how we lost to Wolves and everybody was okay with it. Not okay with it, but nobody really dug out the team and the manager for that. And then we go to Aston Villa, which is a much more difficult game. We just about get beat by a silly goal that we caused ourselves. And, you know, all of a sudden Arsenal are in crisis again and Mikel Arteta's crap. And there's got to be a little bit of balance. There's got to be a little bit more perspective when looking at stuff. That's what frustrates me about the Arsenal fan base. It's the really reactionary nature of it that gives us a bad name when at time when in reality all we are is a group of people who love our football club as much as anybody else loves their respective football club. So yeah, I think that some of the platforms whereby they have a huge influence are guilty of that and have contributed to that and have given us a name where because because the louder voices are like that, because the louder voices do that, people think that all the voices are like that, and the reality is we're not. So as a fan base, it's probably wrong to say that most people are like that, but the loudest ones are, and because the loudest ones are, that's why our reputation as a group, I think, is gets tarnished at times. Want to say a big welcome to Zwei, who's just signed up to become a member of the YouTube channel. Welcome, my friend. Welcome to the Chronicles of a Gooner family. Thank you so much for signing up. If you're interested in signing up, becoming a member, not only supporting me to bring you more content, but supporting us so we can bring you members-only content, which will be coming. The next one will be dropping tomorrow. And it's on Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, so keep your eyes peeled for that if you're a gold member or above. But you also get access to our Discord server where we're talking Arsenal. It's a great little community that we're building up, so come and join us over there. And Zwei, make sure, mate, that you click on the community or membership tab on the YouTube channel and get the link to the Discord server and come and join us. It'll be a pleasure to have you there. But thank you for signing up. It is very, very much appreciated. And as you can see in the chat, people are welcoming you to the membership family. So thank you so much. D Metal says, I presume you're talking about Lee and Claude. No, I'm not talking about anyone in particular because they have different views to me, and I respect those views, even if I don't agree with them. It's not just those. It's not. Look, those guys have got different views to me, and they're entitled to have those views, and it's not a problem. They put those views out in the world. People will agree or disagree with them, and I just feel like you can listen to their views, but you should be able to have your own view based on a number of views from around the whole scene. You shouldn't just listen to one person and make up your judgment on that. You should listen. If you listen to me, and if you listen to Lee, or if you listen to Claude, who I've got no issue with, by the way, if you listen to those guys, you might agree with one thing I said, you might agree with another thing that they said, and your view, I think, should be made up of what you believe to be all the best bits from what people are saying. That's how I try to put my views together. It's fine that people have different views to me. I don't always agree with the way some people go about it, and that's not a dig at those two in particular, because they're not the only ones who have a big influence, and sometimes in my opinion may go a little bit OTT on a certain thing. I wasn't meaning that to dig out anybody specifically, because I'm not in that business. It's not what I'm about. It's not what I'm looking to do. But what I will say is there are a number of channels, there are a number of podcasts, that have far bigger reaches and influences than this one does. And I think that because of the narrative or the way they sometimes act, the whole Arsenal fan base has been painted in a bad light, when in reality, we're not all super reactive one way or the other. And that's the point I'm trying to make. From an outsider looking in, you will naturally go by what you see from the biggest voices. And sometimes what you see from the biggest voices is justified. The outrage is justified. The points are valid. But sometimes the points are not valid. Sometimes the outrage is not justified. And you've got to be able to determine, which is, you've got to be able to make your own mind up, basically. That's all I'm saying. Alcart makes a really good point as well. He says you can listen to fans and agree with them on some points. Doesn't mean you share their views in everything you say. Absolutely. And talking about this channel, you know, there are lots of you who are regular viewers who I see in the chat and in the comments after every single video who constantly disagree with me, and that's absolutely fine. As long as that's done in a respectful way, then there's no problem doing that whatsoever. But we just got to, like, you know, we just need to do it in a way whereby we're all respectful to each other. Nobody's you know, digging anybody out, and it's done in a way by which we can have a constructive debate and not just always be looking to gun for each other all the time. Jet Plays Game says rants get the big views. It's that simple, and why they do it. I completely agree. I completely agree that if you're looking to go big on YouTube, if that's your career ambition, which is nothing wrong with that being your career ambition, I think, you know, YouTube has been great in so many ways. But if that is what you want to do, then yes, the overreactionary stuff at times I think sells. Those people would never admit that they do it, but there is an element of showmanship required if you want to go to the very top of YouTube. That's just the way it is. Right. Yeah. That's that. Brings us to the end of this live edition of the podcast. Hope you've enjoyed it. We've discussed the switching of the Europa League tie. So just to summarize, Arsenal will face Benfica in the first leg in Rome. The second leg is also expected to be moved, but we don't have any confirmation on that. What else have we got? We've discussed the William Saliba thing a little bit more. Of course, we're hearing that the French Football Federation are going to open up an investigation about that, because whatever it was that took place seemed to happen on international duty. We've discussed some of your questions as well in the live chat. Wanted to talk a little bit about Kieran Tierney and his injury problems, but didn't really get around to it because of the level of interaction, which is great. I'm not complaining for a second. So we'll touch on that a little bit on one of tomorrow's streams. So until then, take care of yourselves, and we'll speak soon. Ciao.
You're listening to the Chronicles of a Gooner, the Arsenal podcast.
I'm Martin Tyler, and you're listening to Harry Symeou.